Welcome to our KOIN Now stream, recapping all the action from day one of the NFL draft. A very exciting day one, both locally and also nationally. I'm Brenna Greene. I'm going to bring in Osborne as well for this. We have all of your reaction for this, We're going to start big picture first. Everybody's talking about it. What are your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders not getting picked in the first round?
I'm honestly not really surprised. I definitely saw Jackson Dart being taken before him, so this isn't really like a surprise. But honestly, when it comes to the NFL and ESPN coverage of the draft, it was kind of one of those games where you were like, how many times am I going to see Dion? How many times am I going to see Shedeur on the camera? I mean, honestly, with everything coming out in the last couple days about Shedeur, it doesn't surprise me when it comes to him dropping down in the draft. But what are you thinking, Brenna?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he had a bit of a cavalier attitude going into the NFL draft, not doing much at the Combine, not competing at the Shrine Bowl, and he thought his college shape was good enough to get him drafted. And obviously, NFL scouts did not feel that way, and NFL teams did not feel that way. It was really interesting seeing how many times throughout the night ESPN took him and his dad on TV, which makes sense. I mean, who's been the biggest conversation topic in college football the past 2 years? That would be those two. So you gotta feed the mouths there. But I mean, it's the thing that's even more shocking to me is the fact that there's only two quarterbacks who got picked in the first round. That just doesn't happen that often, and it unfortunately says how weak this quarterback draft class is. I mean, you got the first one taken off the board, number one, and then nobody else for quite some time until Jackson Dart. What did you think of that?
I mean, honestly, it didn't surprise me either. This quarterback draft has been pretty lackluster. As you've said, it's not much to look at, to be honest. But one of the things I really wanted to focus on is when it comes to the first pick in the NFL draft, that is actually somebody that you have a bit of history with. Mm-hmm. You've interviewed him actually at Washington State. So I would really love to know your thoughts on Cam Ward. I mean, obviously, Washington State posting about their graduate Cam Ward being drafted as the number one pick in the NFL draft to the Tennessee Titans. So tell me more about your thoughts. I mean, you have some personal stories with him. So give me the full tea, girl.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I never actually covered a game with Cameron Ward playing in it because I ended up getting the job down here and moving back to Portland. But I was around when he transferred in, and I did a full one-on-one interview with him probably like a month after he came, because I was incessantly bugging the WSU athletic department about it, as I do. So it was just a very interesting process to kind of be a part of and watch, because there's a lot of context to it when you actually kind of zoom out. So when I was the season before I was there was when Nick Rolovich was the head coach at WSU, and he got let go because he didn't want to get the COVID vaccine. And the quarterback that he had brought in, Jayden de Laura, was his guy. His guy. There's a lot of hype around Jayden, and but it was one of those things going into the bowl game where there were a lot of whispers about Cam Ward because the offensive coordinator they had brought in was from Incarnate Word, where Cam Ward had been before. So there was a lot of, they might be going out and getting this guy. And I mean, I think the night of that bowl game, it might have been right after that bowl game, they offered him, and he was there almost immediately. So, and Jayden de Laura almost immediately announced that he was transferring out, went to Arizona. Then he transferred out of there, went to Texas State. That only lasted for like 5 seconds, and I actually don't remember where he is now. But, he was just, I remember him coming in and him just being an incredibly, down-to-earth guy, I mean, it's something that was harped on all NFL draft long. He wasn't a quarterback that was on the circuit. He was not a quarterback who was known. I mean, no known quarterbacks going to Incarnate Word. So, or for that matter, probably WSU. Let's be real. So, not exactly a program known for their number one overall quarterback draft picks. There have been a few. But that was back in yesteryear. So yeah, it was really cool to just think about. You never know. Wherever you are is the big time. That's something that everyone's always taught me. And just knowing that I sat there in that room with that guy and he ended up being the number one overall pick is just, it's crazy. And it's like, man, wherever you are, you need to make it big because you never know when it's going to get big. And I think that's really something to think about when it comes to all these drafts, all these mock drafts, all these predictions, all these stars out of high school. You never know who's actually going to be the biggest one. And the person who was the biggest one in this draft was someone that literally no one saw coming, maybe even 2.5 years ago, I'd say. So it was cool. Absolutely. It was cool to see him. I know his dad and I converse every once in a while still on Twitter. We kind of became friends. So very happy for the Ward family and seeing that today. It was very cool. So yeah.
100%.
But, someone else, a program that had a really big day, the Oregon Ducks, which
of course, we got to get into it.
We got to focus on our local squad here. The first time since 2015 that they have multiple guys drafted in the first round. It's only the fourth time in program history. Obviously, it's been 10 years since that's happened. So a few coaching changes along the way during that time span, to say the least. Let's start with Derek Harmon and your reaction to him getting picked at 21 by the Steelers.
Hallmark kind of game for them in that 2024 season. Derek Harmon has been kind of that guy for Oregon. He's been that staple on the defensive line. I mean, when you look at him, he's 6'4.5" and 313 pounds. You can't teach size, honestly. He comes in with the size needed. He's a little top heavy when it comes to his position, which makes him a little stiff when it comes to rotating between taking a block. Draft profiling for Oregon is that when I was at the 2025 Rose Bowl, Oregon versus Ohio State, where Ohio State blew out Oregon, the last person to leave the field for Oregon was Derek Harmon. 100%. He was the last person to leave the field for Oregon. The kind of guy that'll really put himself on the line. And I remember he said during the NFL Combine that he'll play up and down the line. It doesn't really matter. He's that kind of guy to really be slotted into any position in the trenches. Pick for the Steelers, pretty safe pick for Mike Tomlin. I don't think the Steelers have made a bad choice when it comes to a first round pick. Look at the Watts, the folks that have come on to the Steelers recently. I honestly think that this is a pretty safe pick for the Steelers and will pay them back dividends when it comes to future seasons.
Yeah, one of the big things that everyone was talking about was the fact that Cam Hayward on the Steelers is 35 years old. So he is definitely getting up there in age. I hope I don't repeat anything that you said, by the way, because we had a few little technological things while you were talking, but I heard some of it. So,
for sure.
But anyway, so yeah, so a lot of people talking about the fact that Derek is now kind of seen as the heir apparent over there at Pittsburgh for Cam Hayward's position. Obviously, the Steelers, a team that love defense. That is just a part of their core. So a guy who they're really excited about. And I mean, it is interesting because we talked about Shadur. A lot of people were saying that Steelers might take him, and they end up taking our guy instead. So yeah, really excited for Derek, and just a really good guy, but somebody who throughout the season just you could see him getting better and better and better for Oregon.
Absolutely.
He just kept kind of making his mark more and more and more. And as somebody who was voting, for those AP All-American teams, by the end it was like, okay, I'm like, am I crazy? Like, I think he deserves to be on this, But, some people didn't see it because it wasn't like a whole season thing. It was a gradual build for him. But at the end, he was really, really playing well. So that was a really exciting thing to see. Of course, naturally, I was driving while it happened into the station. So I'm driving and I'm like, yes, of course I have missed Derek Harmon being drafted. I guess I'll catch up on that.
I was busy. Honestly, like, knowing how many things you have to do during a day, I don't even blame you. You had things to do. You were booked and busy. So, like, let's be real. We like, girl, Derek Harmon, we all kind of knew he was going to go to the Steelers. I feel like that was very heavily projected. Yep. So it was one of those things where it's just like, all right, we that's kind of a lockdown thing. But the not lockdown thing that I'm very excited about is Josh Connerly Jr. going to the Washington Commanders. That is one of the things that I was so excited about. I mean, I know Mel Kiper had him going to, I believe, the Chiefs in the, what was it? Let me look it up because I have it written down here. Mel Kiper had him going, I can't find it, but when I do, I will. He had him going in the 20s to the Kansas City Chiefs. And, Josh Connerly Jr. reuniting with Marcus Mariota, who just re-signed a deal with the Commanders, another Duck on there. Marcus Mariota actually posting Ducks Fly Together on his Instagram story after Josh Connerly was drafted, and that is honestly so cool to see. And Connerly, of course, during his senior year became an AP All-American and a first-team All Big Ten selection. When it came to AP All-American, he was a third team. He started 28 games at left tackle since 2023, all 14 of Oregon's games during the 2024 season, of course. Played 965 offensive snaps last season, 929 of those reps being at left tackle. Now, Connerly Jr. talked to NFL Insider about what he was looking at when it came to what position he could really play for the Commanders. And he said, quote, yeah, I mean, whatever is asked of me, but I do see myself left tackle. I mean, honestly, anything that coaches want from me, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm very excited to see what he's able to do on the Commanders. Brenna, do you have any thoughts on Josh Connerly Jr. joining the Commanders?
Well, it's really interesting because the Commanders traded for Laramie Tunsil this offseason, and he plays the same position that Jeff Connerly plays, left tackle. Yep. So that is really interesting. Apparently, there are some NFL people who think that he could move in and be a guard. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but for Oregon, a lot of times at Oregon, they're really good about making sure their offensive linemen have versatility at a bunch of different positions, but Connerly really locked down that left tackle position. That was his job, like the entire time he was there. That is what he played. So, very interested to see, how this kind of shakes out for him. If they end up deciding to move him, or they just say, hey, like let's just have you kind of learn behind Tunsil for a little bit and figure that all out. But it does seem like at the very least he'll definitely see some playing time this year. It just will be interesting to see if he sees it at left tackle or if he sees it at guard. I don't know.
Yes. I mean, honestly, it started in kind of the mirror ball era where every offensive lineman had to learn every position on the line in order to be able to be a part of the Oregon offensive line. I mean, Josh Connerly Jr., very much a varied talent when it comes to the offensive line. Fun fact, in high school, he actually was a running back in Seattle until he changed to offensive lineman. So that shows kind of his speed on the line, especially. Connerly Jr., I mean, we got to really give some credits to this offensive line. They started the season with about 3 yards per carry against Boise State, their second game of the 2024 season, to become second year in a row nominated for the Joe Moore Award finalists. That is their second year in a row, an award given to the best offensive line of the season. They really started in a really shaky place as an offensive line, and because of Josh Connerly's influence especially, they were able to make it to one of the best awards that you can get as an offensive line. Oregon, very much known for that. But Josh Connerly was really along this kind of trajectory. I mean, even in the Big Ten championship game, his performance against Penn State was really kind of the nail in the coffin for his hype going into the draft, pre-draft season. I mean, when you think of Josh Connerly Jr., exactly, a great performance against Penn State, Dual Carter specifically. Connerly went into the NFL Combine. He interviewed with all, if almost all, teams in the league, and then had 8 top 30 visits, I believe. He was highly sought after going into this pre-draft postseason. He also was nominated in the Reese's Senior Bowl as the best offensive lineman of the weekend by the defensive players that nominated, because it's the players on the opposite side of the ball that nominate the best players of that week. And Connerly was nominated there. He has been picking up steam like tremendously since the end of the Oregon season. And even in the Oregon season, he had progressed significantly throughout that season. So, I mean, it's great to be able to see him get that pick. I know that Mel Kiper and several other guys were saying that Connerly would be able to go in the 20s picks especially. So it's good to see another Duck be able to do that. And for only the 4th time in program history, which is very, very impressive.
Yes, a great day if you are an Oregon fan, but this is going to be a great stretch of days if you're an Oregon fan. Around 10 players they expect to be picked in the NFL draft, which will be a program record if it comes to fruition. I don't see a world in which it doesn't. So
the former record was 8, correct?
I believe you're correct, yes. And was that last year?
It was last year, yeah.
So Dan Lanning, immediate impact. That's like almost an immediate impact. I mean, this is year 3 of him being around there. Last year was year 2. So seeing that and being able to show recruits, hey, we get guys to the NFL. You're not only great at the collegiate level, but you're great at the NFL level. That is such a tremendous recruiting tool, especially against all the schools in the SEC they're going up against and all that stuff.
Dan Lanning actually did come out and say things for Josh Connerly and Derek Harmon. I'm going to read them real quick. The first one is for Josh Connerly. Quote, "So happy for Josh and his family. Our first signing class here at Oregon maximized every opportunity he had. Unbelievable teammate. Commanders fans should be thrilled." Of course, Dan Lanning, not typically on social media to talk about his players, and he's been very full throttle when it comes to the players in the draft this year. Let's see his quotes on Derek Harmon. He, of course, posted a screenshot of him on FaceTime with Derek Harmon, the two of them going back and forth, chatting a little bit. But Dan Lanning said of Derek Harmon, quote, "So proud of you, DJ. You deserve everything coming your way. Steelers got a great one." So some very heavy words from the man himself over in Eugene.
And hey, this is a recruiting tool because Oregon going into a big-time recruiting weekend with the spring game on Saturday. They bring in a lot of players for that. So let's just go over a few names who could hear their names called tomorrow in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Jordan Birch, Terrence Ferguson, Jordan James, running back Jordan James, linebacker Jeff Bossa, and then a fringe one, I would say, but somebody who I think really picked up a lot of steam throughout the season as well, very much similar to Derek Harmon, I would say, would be Jamari Caldwell, another defensive tackle, by the way. So who of that bunch are you most intrigued by to see where they go potentially tomorrow?
I would put my money on Jordan Birch, honestly. When it comes to a lot of the Ducks, I would say look for like 4th through 7th rounds on calls, but if any of them would breach the 3rd round, I would say Jordan Birch. He's had a really great performance during the NFL Scouting Combine. I saw a lot of highlights through him, a lot of articles through him saying that he raised his draft stock during then. So if I were a betting woman, I would say Jordan Birch. What about you, Brenna?
Well, something that intrigues me, I'm just looking something up right now because I want to make sure that I have this all right here. But
oh, absolute.
I mean, I'm a little interested to see if maybe the Denver Broncos tomorrow decide to come in and sweep up Bo's guy, Terrence Ferguson.
I've seen articles about that. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you don't know, Terrence Ferguson, Allie obviously knows, but Terrence is from Denver. So, I mean, what a perfect pickup would that be if Denver comes in and takes Terrence Ferguson tomorrow or the next day, and they end up kind of reuniting him and Bo in Denver, in Terrence's hometown. That would just be such a storybook thing to see. Obviously a lot of different factors have to come through to make that happen, but boy, would that be a really, really cool thing to happen if it were to happen. I'm looking at I'm trying to look up the Denver Broncos picks right now and what picks they have in the 2025 draft here. But yeah, I mean, just a really, that would be a very, very cool thing if it were to happen. So, okay, let's see here. Round 2, number 51. Round 3, number 85. Round 4, number 122. I do not see Terrence getting past round 4, but I think it's definitely a possibility. So that's something that I would just look to see if it happened. And, Saturday in Eugene is going to be really fun. One of the things that's like kind of a double-edged sword for me is it's fun that we get to go down there and be down there on the last day of the draft so that we can talk to Dan Lanning about the NFL draft every year and talk to the players about their teammates getting drafted. Last year was super fun just watching that run on Saturday with the Oregon Ducks. But also, I would love it if we could have those players come back either before they're drafted or, after they're drafted or whatever. Unfortunately, we don't get that. So you kind of get like, you're like, that's really fun, but also I'd like to talk to those players before the NFL draft or, after if it worked out like that. So,
well, hey, if you want to talk to some players that have recently been drafted, especially last year, I know that Troy Franklin and Jackson Power Johnson have both confirmed they will be at the spring game. So if you want to draft you've got some rookies coming in. So they are there. But it would be great to hear from the folks that are just very recently drafted. However, these guys are, dealing with what they've just come into reality with. They've just been drafted in the NFL, their dreams. So I think that these guys are more celebrating with their families than coming back to Eugene. But if you want to see some rookies that are coming in, Troy Franklin and JPJ both confirmed to be there.
Yeah, I forget. There's Christian Gonzalez is going to be back as one of the honorary captains. And who's the other?
The other one.
Bucky. I was like, it's driving me crazy because I know it's somebody from last year who's a running back. Like my brain's like running back. I'm like, who is it?
Bucky Irving, which is kind of the argument for Jordan James. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, draft Jordan James because he's a similar running back to Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving being paired up with Rich Brooks. I believe Christian Gonzalez being paired up with Mike Bellotti. I mean, honestly, seeing these two greats, these two coaches, you don't really see, especially with previous coaches with the Oregon program. Not many of them have the standing to be able to come back, to be able to coach in this kind of format. I think this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially to see those two guys as well. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of This is the first time I've been jumping out of my seat about two old guys. I'm so excited to see Brooks and Bellotti pair up with Bucky Irving and Christian Gonzalez to really make a really good spring game. It's going to be awesome.
I mean, Mike Bellotti is the reason why I'm an Oregon fan. Those teams. Those teams back in the day. I mean, they're really what got me into sports. You know, I was like in third grade, and it was like, oh, Joey Harrington. Like, you know. So Saturday will be very fun in Eugene, especially with all the NFL draft hoopla on top of the spring game. Obviously, both Allie and I will be there to cover that for our respective outlets. Allie on SI, me for KOIN. So we'll have you covered there, and we'll have you covered the next few days with the NFL draft. So thank you so much for everyone for joining. Thank you, Allie, for being with us. Thank you for tuning in to this KOIN Now NFL Draft Round 1 wrap-up show. Thanks for watching.